Okay, good morning. Welcome to Thursday. Hope yesterday was awesome. Super, super great. Hope tomorrow's even better. But we're going to talk about how you're going to win today. You win enough days, you're going to have a good week, a good month, a good year. You win enough years, you're going to have a good career. And that's kind of what we're all about here. Not even kind of. It's what we're all about here. So today, I want to talk about, well, here, let me tell you why I want to talk about it. So our business is tight right now. We're selling investment properties in a tight investment world right now. So it's very difficult to sell these things. And if you go through a career, there's going to be ups and there's going to be downs. Okay. We came out of a massive up where we crushed, and now we're going through a massive down where we're hanging on. Okay. And I think we're getting ready for another up. That's about, or as they say in the South, that are fixing to come. All right. But it's difficult. So I'm laying in bed last night like this. And I'm thinking about, okay, what are we doing? What aren't we doing? What should we be doing? All that stuff that you go through, right? And I'm on like 917 option, and everything kept pushing back to number one. All right, which is generally lead gen, but it's not number one. Number one, if you asked anybody, and I've heard even Gary say this, but almost anybody of any substance that I've ever talked to, the number one thing that they are in tune with, and when asked, what can I do, is their schedule. Protect your schedule, guard your schedule. That's where the power to say no comes in. That's where all that stuff comes in. It's your schedule. And if you find yourself off, not getting what you want, it's likely going to be because your schedule isn't conducive to getting what you say you want. You're letting yourself off the hook. And then it jumps to lead gen. Your schedule is to do 3 hours of lead gen. Maybe you get 1 hour, maybe it's 0 hours. Rarely is it 4. Because you get off your schedule. You do all kinds of things other than what you're supposed to be doing. But when everybody writes their schedule, they're usually pretty good about it. They recognize that lead gen's number one. So, all right, so let's talk about it. I'm looking at mine. I'm looking at my schedule, and it's changed a little bit over when I went from being a solo agent bent on getting listings to a solo agent with an admin bent on getting listings to agent with an admin with a couple other agents bent on getting listings to where I am now, where I'm really not doing much on the sales side of it, but I'm trying to find and teach and help others bent on getting listings, get their listings and sell their properties. So my schedule is a little bit different, and it's moved around a little bit. I found that when I was rocking and rolling, my schedule was like rock solid. There was that much variance in movement of it. Right now, it's like, right? As I'm trying to find myself. But unless you're like I am trying to find yourself, if you're a solo agent trying to build a career, a year, a month, a week, a day, you need to have that tight as it can be. Your schedule tight as can be. Okay. And so I'm going back in my mind. The number one thing is lead gen. We talk about it all the time. That's not a surprise to anybody. Work your schedule around your lead gen. And make your lead gen in the morning. And I know you're not a morning person. I know. I get it. The rest of the world's a morning person. So work around the rest of the world. Okay. And you can tell your friends how much of a not morning person you are, but you're doing it. So show up in the morning and do the job in the morning. Do your lead gen in the morning. But before you start your lead gen, you don't want to start your lead gen too early, because some people morning might be 9 o'clock to them and not 6 or 5. Okay. But start your morning with lead follow-up. First thing you should do. So we start our lead gen at 9 here. But at 8:30, we're doing lead follow-up. That's where everybody loses. Everybody.
True.
Loses on the lead follow-up. They don't follow up enough. That's a different conversation. But schedule-wise, 8 8:30 to 9 is enough lead follow-up for most people. Now, if you got a bunch of leads, well, maybe not. But lead gen, 8:30 to 9. And if you can get there at 7:30, even better, because that'll let you get into the day properly. Maybe you start on a call like this, get your mindset going. All right. Then do your lead follow-up. Okay. Then do your lead gen. And that's from 9 to 12. Okay. We've talked about that before. That's another thing too. You do it in sections of that 3 hours. Okay. Then in the afternoon, you want to build your schedule around getting better, right? That's getting information that's going to allow you to be a better purveyor of the future, right? That's studying the market trends, previewing property, all that stuff. Creating the content that we talked about yesterday built around that information you're learning. Okay. That's so when you come back after lunch, first thing you should do is lead follow-up. All right. You didn't get them in the morning. Let's get them in the afternoon early. Okay. Let's try them then. Spend a half hour right when you get back. Lead follow-up, lead follow-up, lead follow-up. The second thing you should do in the afternoon, later afternoon, 3 to 5 for me, if you're operating in the rest of the world, probably it's an evening when people are home from work, and that's going on appointments. It may seem weird to some of y'all. 99.9% of our appointments are over the phone to people in other states. So we do those in the afternoon, typically speaking. But I know most of the real estate world operates and you go to somebody's house after the end of the day and whatever. Okay. So do that at night, 5 to 7, whatever it is. Now I know most of you aren't going to be taking appointments every single day. So it's not like it's going to be every single night. Hopefully it is, but probably not. So do your appointments in the evening. Do not do your appointments in the morning when you're supposed to be lead gen. Don't do it. So number one rookie mistake, we still struggle with it here. Don't do it. Okay. Do your appointments late evening or late afternoon, early evening, period. And then if you don't have, if you don't have appointments, then you do your home. What do? You do your
previews.
Previews. There we go. I've got previews in my studying the market trends in there. So you do that. So what we do is we come back 1 o'clock, 1:30, whatever it is. We do our lead follow-up, right? And then we're studying the market trends. Monday, Wednesday, Friday might be studying market trends. Tuesday, Thursdays might be previewing. Then we flip it around the next week where 3 days are previewing and 2 days are market trends. Okay. Then you can build your content creation based on the information you create there. All right. Now, if you have an appointment would supersede the listing appointment or studying the trends. Okay. Unless you do it at night. Does that make sense? Is that? Yep. And then at the end of the day, 5 o'clock, before you go to your appointment at night, or as you leave the office at the end of the day, you spend a half hour on lead follow-up. Follow-up. That's where the money's lost. Okay. And then, or somewhere in there, get your schedule figured out for you, is you create the next day. So you come in here with some idea of you go home with some idea of what you're doing, and you come in with some idea of what's going to happen. That, my friends, is a schedule I worked for 20 years, and it's done quite well for me, and it's doing quite well for our people. Okay. And when we get off the schedule, it's like when you get off the script, it just don't work as well. All right. So that is a schedule that can work. No, there's a million people doing a million things, a million ways that work. That's one that I know works for me. Okay. Build your schedule's everything. If you could change anything, or if you had to build something around anything, build it around your schedule. Build your schedule around lead gen. Boom. Learn those two things and you win the day. Mark, tell me something what you know about this.
Well, I think a couple things. One is, if the fortune's in the follow-up and there are a bunch of agents and people without fortunes, that means they're not following up. And I love the emphasis there. And I also want to speak to the appointments, setting the appointments. I think, I did 20 plus years as a therapist, which your whole thing is based on appointments. And here's what I learned. If I had evenings, they'd take the evenings. But when I started to say, that's my family time, I can meet with you at these times, people would make, because it's a one-off event, they would make changes. I'm not saying I never did an evening, but you don't have to fit your calendar always around somebody else. People will fit in if you're valuable enough to your calendar.
For sure.
And I will give one little tip that I have found to control my calendar. And when I'm setting an appointment, this is the question I ask. John, I can meet with you tomorrow. Tell me the times tomorrow you definitely cannot meet.
Well, I got my kids' game from 7:30 to 9.
Perfect. Now, everything after 9, or everything before 7:30, everything after 9,
Yep,
I
sure.
get to choose. And so I put it in what works for me. If I say what works for you, they're going to make it the last or the latest time. So I always ask, when can you definitely not meet? And then I pick what's best for me.
Perfect. So here's the takeaway on that, among other takeaways. You have to treat yourself like a professional, or else nobody else will.
Yeah.
Okay. If you leave yourself wide open to anything, everything, and whatever, you're going to get anything, everything, and whatever. That's a disaster, usually. Treat yourself like a pro. All right. And if you have to rejigger some things on their end, sorry, I can't, because I got a ball game.
Yeah.
Right. I'm a pro. If you work with me, it's because we're going to work together. It's not I'm working for you. There's no I'm working for you in this. We're going to become partners in this, or we're not. I'm a pro. You got your thing. I got mine. Let's work this out. Treat yourself like a pro. Too many rookies, too many agents. And when you get desperate, you get less and less professional.
No doubt.
Treat yourself like a pro. Julie, tell me your history, your story.
Well, one of the things that I was thinking is, you laid out a great calendar, which everyone should do, but make sure that whatever you're doing outside of lead gen, that you put into your calendar, that there's a couple of things. You know how long it takes. If you don't know how long it takes, time it every time you do it, and leave margin so that you have space in between that and the next thing, and then adjust going forward. So you always have to leave some margin in your calendar. And also, if it's something that's important to you and it's during the follow-up, the market trends, don't put it during lead gen or follow-up, market trends or previewing, make sure that you move those blocks on your calendar somewhere else so that you don't take out what's important to you when you're adjusting for appointments. So you don't take them off the calendar, you move them.
Love it. Love it. And we're going to talk about how to create a calendar in another one for sure. Mm-hmm. Time blocking, all that stuff. And you got to schedule your fun.
And that's another thing, John.
It's not rigid, but schedule your fun. It works better. So Maria is in Chicago. Maria, have you ever been to the 3752 Club? Probably not. I used to live at 3752 North Magnolia, and my roommates and I made this little bar in our place. It's a story for a different time as well. Love Chicago. Jamie, consistency and accountability. Oh my God. Two important words right there, right?
Yeah.
Smart. Andrew, tell us something from your perspective.
I will say that, you got to time block the important but not urgent stuff. I think that if you go to Stephen Covey's time matrix quadrant and take a look at that's where your focus should be. And we have a tendency, at least I do, focusing on the urgent but not necessarily important stuff. And that's where our day gets away from us. So if you time block in the morning, as a new agent, I'd show up at the office. We'd meet 3 other people at 7:30. We'd do our role playing and then jump on the phones and do our lead generation, and then do lead follow-up after it. I think it's an interesting concept you've got, doing the lead follow-up before the lead generation. I think that's good because that's really where your business is going to come from. Other thing I took away as a new agent, I chased everything. I tried to go on buyer appointments, everything. I found myself showing houses on Easter Sunday one day, and they were like $40,000 condos. And that's that point where I had my breakthrough and realized that, okay, I'm going to become a listing agent and focus 100% of my efforts on listing because I can control my schedule with that. I can't control it with buyers. If I choose to work with listings 95% of the time, they can meet with me between 9 to 5 during the week. for an hour,
Love it.
2 hour period, they can take that time off work. Buyers can't do that. They can't take off 4 weeks to go look at houses or 2 weeks to go
It
look
seems
at
like
houses.
some of the ones I work with do.
Yeah. So that was kind of my aha as a new agent, that if you want to control your schedule, focus on listings.
So what I would say to you is absolutely true, right? The one thing that jumped out at me, matter of fact, I just wrote it right down, circled it, and underlined it. Control yourself. Start there 100% of the time. If you don't have control over yourself, over your time, over what you're doing, disaster is imminent, right?
Well,
It's
and
hard to control yourself because you're very lenient most people are on themselves, very forgiving.
especially as a new agent.
Yeah, new agents and those that are hurting and suffering. Here's a new agent. Destiny's a new agent, newish, not desperate and suffering for sure. But do you have your schedule worked out, Destiny? How did you get to that level?
Trial and error, and I've learned the importance of being able to pivot, when something pops up. One thing I got coached on a few weeks ago was there's no emergencies in real estate. And I was putting out fires and trying to save deals instead of doing my Legion, and I lost Legion time from that. And so it's saying, this is the time that I have to do my Legion. I can call you guys later. I can deal with this later. We'll get with the underwriters later. So it's knowing what's priority and really sticking to that. And then I also think it's important to let your family and children and friends know, this is my important time. I'm not going to answer your text message. I'm not going to answer your calls. No, I'm not going to give you a ride right now. I'm working. So
You know what's really weird about schedule? When you operate on a schedule, not only do you start to fall in, those around you fall into your schedule as well.
Right.
Not at first. I mean,
No.
here the nature
Push
of
back.
yeah, the
'Cause
nature
they have
of
their
the
schedule.
is to remain unchanged. And so you've got to push through that until it adopts the new system, and then it will protect it. And that's the hardest thing, is people don't push through until the new what's called a homeostatic maintainer to remain unchanged hits. That's the key.
And
If
to
you
that,
don't
Mark,
believe me, go through daylight savings. When you're used to doing something at a certain time, all of a sudden it's different. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
the other thing I would add to what you're saying, Mark, is from day one, I wish that I would have, as a brand new agent, been told to put the important things on my calendar first. So, anniversaries, birthdays, kids events, I don't care if it's a baton twirling, watching contest, whatever it is that is important to your family, put that on your calendar first. Because if you don't have it on the calendar and then something comes up, buyer appointment, you're always going to say yes to that buyer appointment if there's not something blocking it out. And the second part of that is, you don't say to people, I have a baton twirling tournament to attend, because they'll make a judgment on whether they think that's important to them. And you need them to not have that freedom. You need to say, I have a commitment, no matter what the commitment, because no matter who they are, they're going to decide that you're prioritizing something over them. And, I must not be that important. I'll go work with someone else. So, like John says, be a pro, and you just say, I have a commitment, and have all those things in your calendar. If you have young kids, get the school calendar, put in all the holidays, all the time that you plan to spend with your kids. If they have an early release, put that on your calendar, block that off. It's so important to keep your family first. If that's what you're working for, you're not working for money, you're working to support your family and to have freedom and life experiences.
Well, and to that end, if I can add in here, is I've seen a lot of good agents sabotaged by their family with the lack of priority. And there's something powerful about going to your mate and saying, you go first. Tell me what the big rocks are. You go on my calendar first, and then do I have permission to work around this? And so if they are always first and you have that communication, then there's not the sabotage of your working then, because they always, every week, you're my big rock. You go in first. Let's plan our calendar. That will keep the family from sabotaging your work.
love it. Love it. Okay, so I'm going to just give a recap. Destiny, Andrew, you got anything you want to add?
No, I think that was great.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Just about everything.
okay, so here's the thing. You're going to win the day. Here's what you need to do. Number one, you got to get control of yourself. That's not easy. Get control of yourself. The way you're going to get control of yourself is to get a schedule. Use a schedule and build that schedule around lead gen. Okay. In the morning. And then 4, don't forget your follow-up. You guys work so damn hard to create these leads, and then you don't follow up with them, or you follow up with them 1 or 2 times. You follow up with them 895 times, or until they tell you, oh, for dear Lord, stop. Right? You don't have to bother them. We'll talk about this at another conversation too. You don't have to bother them. It's not bothering them. They will tell you, stop if you're bothering them. If they don't tell you to stop, you're not bothering them. They're using your follow-up as their reminder. Okay? Don't read in anything beyond that. Okay? So get control of yourself. Right? You're going to have a hard time with that. You're going to win for a while, and you're going to fall off the wagon. It's going to be a nightmare. 2, your schedule will do that to you. And you get control of your schedule, you'll train yourself. You'll train those around you to respect your schedule. 3, listings. I have a buyer. I love the buyer. Work with the buyer when you're done with your listings. And then follow up. And when you think you followed up enough, follow up some more. Okay. That's how you're going to win the day. All right, guys, let's go to work and prove me wrong. Call me tomorrow and say, hey, you followed up 500 times and it didn't work. Challenge you. All right. I'll see you guys.
Take care.
Yes.
Bye.